Before the break, we were talking about differentiation. Before we talk about school choice, I want to talk about one more issue around teacher effectiveness, and that really gets into collective bargaining agreements and collective bargaining and the whole concept. And one of the things that has been advanced in this education agenda is some restrictions on collective bargaining. You know, tell us why you think that is important to get to some of these major reforms.
Well, Vince, first, I think it's important for all of our viewers to understand you are talking to the son of a union electrician. You're talking to a former member of the Ohio Education Association and the Indiana State Teachers Association. So my beliefs regarding collective bargaining are not union bashing. They are because in a 21st century where you have incredible accountability placed on you, your school board, and your principals, we have to give you the flexibility to operate. And the truth is, we have far too many collective bargaining agreements that constrict that ability. They have grown out of scope in comparison to where they started in 1973 and what I believe to be the original intent of Public Law 217 in 1973.
Can you give us a couple of examples of things that are going to make it very difficult to get to some of these reforms at the local level that we see in collective bargaining agreements across the state?
Take seniority, Vince. We have school corporations across the state that said we have to break seniority ties by adding up the last 4 digits of Social Security numbers, and the person with the highest sum wins, without any consideration to teacher quality. Or you just have to use a decision based purely on chance. No consideration to quality. We have one school corporation that has collective bargaining agreement that says that a teacher must be fired twice. Once by the local collective bargaining agreement and once by Indiana law. Those get in your way.
And also, particularly in times of declining resources where school districts have had to reduce the teaching force, you know, a lot of those type of collective bargaining agreements go strictly to seniority.
Without question. And I don't believe we have 292 tyrants in this business that are going to truly just attack experienced teachers. First of all, with great evaluation instruments, that's a protection to an experienced teacher who is doing a good job. So the interrelatedness of all of these reforms, Vince, are vital to understand, because Indiana's proposal on collective bargaining is not union breaking or union bashing. It is truly putting school leadership back in the hands of school leaders.
Let's switch gears now and deal with school choice. And one of the things that you have been able to do in your administration is to eliminate these predetermined attendance boundaries for public schools and allow students to transfer from public to public without having tuition tied to that, which we believe in Evansville that has been a wonderful thing, and we've taken full advantage of that. You're also advancing the expansion of charter schools as well as the potential voucher program in the state of Indiana. You talk to us about the need for school choice from your perspective.
Vince, I worked with some of the highest performing schools in the state, and frankly, I've worked with some of the lowest performing schools in the state. And my view is that not all schools meet the needs of all children. Our job, going back to our opening segment regarding a 21st century workforce, is to make sure all children go to the school that best meets their needs. Now, not all local school superintendents are like Vince Bertram and embrace and work with their local charter schools, embrace and work with their local private schools, and understand that everyone in that business is a competitive partner. And so this proposal is not to privatize education. It's not to take away from public schools. It's to offer children the choices they need. But also, I have confidence that Indiana public schools can compete with charter schools. I have confidence that Indiana public schools can compete with private schools. And I believe if we initiate these reforms, public education can win.
Final question. How do you overcome this belief, the separation, if you will, of public dollars going to support a parochial school or faith-based schools?
Vince, I think you're asking the constitutionality question, and obviously, you know, I'm far from a constitutional attorney, but, you know, we've had some constitutional studies. The constitutional studies say that by any necessary means, the state should provide children an education, and I'm paraphrasing. So I justify it by saying the state took over the general fund of schools a few years back, and that money is for the children. It's for the needs of children. And I justify it by saying we have to think differently about putting money with children and allowing children to go to a place that leads to their future success. That, to me, is what this is all about.
Well, the Supreme Court's ruled on this issue. And they've looked at Cleveland and Milwaukee and other voucher systems and have found an acceptance to this overall, and we do it in higher education today.
It's why we have the world's greatest university system here in the United States. People can choose University of Evansville, they can choose University of Southern Indiana, or they can go to Indiana State University. They can choose, and by the way, they can use federal and state dollars to do that.
Or to Notre Dame.
Or to Notre Dame.
We're out of time. Thanks for your courage and thanks for your work on behalf of children in Indiana.
Well, Vince, we don't say this enough. Thank you to you and your local superintendents for the great work you're doing in Southwest Indiana for the children of Southwest Indiana.
We'll be right back. And after the break, we'll have our EVSC Spotlight. Find out how one school is making bullying a big homework assignment right after this.